Today we are learning about social media and mental health, and the relationship is a little complicated. One of the ways we should think about this is with our dopamine centers. So dopamine, serotonin in our brain, these tend to make us feel good. They're associated with positive emotion. And social media, every time you get a like or whatever, it's going to trigger that dopamine response. And that dopamine response can become addictive. And so these platforms can become addictive, and addiction can lead to mental health issues. So let's kind of break this down and go through some things here. One of the things that I think is a little unethical about a lot of these social media companies is they use a lot of gambling techniques in order to get you addicted. So one is called reward prediction error encoding. And what this is a slight delay between whenever you, like let's say you're gambling, so when you pull the lever and as you wait for the things to spin around before you get that reward. And social media apps use this. And so if you notice, if you check your apps, there'll be a slight delay between when you open the app or when you refresh and when you get your notification. And what that delay is intended to do is as you anticipate the reward, which the reward is a like or whatever, you release more and more dopamine in anticipation of that reward. And that increase in dopamine release actually addicts you to the platform. So, there's large corporations, they're doing it, and I just don't think it's a good thing to be engaged in. Although, if you don't do it, you're not going to get people addicted to your platform, and then your platform is going to be surpassed by other platforms. So I understand why they have to do it, but just be aware that these companies are intentionally addicting you to their service. Another thing that they do here is variable reward schedules. And this is, again, in gambling, so you don't win the jackpot every time. You win it sometimes, and the reward changes every time. And if you change the reward that somebody gets, it actually makes it more addictive because you want to try again and you want to get a better reward. And so they do this with your likes. So you don't get your likes when it actually happens in real time. There's algorithms that suppress your likes from being posted until you get a little burst of them, right? So instead of getting 1 and then 2, no, you'll get 4 and then you'll get 7. And so again, this is just all created to addict us to a platform. So anytime we're dealing with something that's addictive, we have some issues typically with some mental health. So overall, there's a good meta-analysis that I'm going to link below. You can check it out. Social media use is correlated with anxiety and depression. And just because, correlation does not equal causation. So just because things are correlated does not mean it is causing the problems. It's a lot more complicated than that. It does appear that the more you use social media, the more likely you are to experience depression and anxiety that are linked with it. But there were some interesting studies. One I found looked at how social media impacted your sleep. Particularly, it found that social media right before bed decrease the amount of time that you sleep. And sleep is super important for mental health, anxiety, depression particularly. So what this study concluded was it wasn't the social media causing the anxiety and depression, it was the lack of sleep that was causing it. So that's kind of interesting. Another study found that if people had a strong support system behind them, they were less negatively affected by anxiety or by social media in terms of anxiety and depression. So, all the time you're spending on social media, you're not spending that time developing real relationships with real people. So, it does have some positives, of course. You can share how you feel, you can talk to people. And so there are good aspects to it. But if you don't have real connections in the outside world, it does seem to impact your anxiety and depression. Particularly in female youth. So young women right now, depression rates are skyrocketing, anxiety is skyrocketing, and primarily this is from social comparison, right? So you have all these social media platforms. Young girls are using filters to make themselves look better because then they get more likes, and it's causing real problems because then you start comparing yourself to other people, and you always think more critically of yourself, right? So we'll talk about this next week, or maybe in 2 weeks. But just beware of that, right? You can't be comparing yourself to people on social media because they're using filters, and it's not going to be healthy for you, right? It's going to make your life worse. You're going to be more depressed, more anxious, and young females are really getting hit hard by this right now. So Another interesting study I found, if you decrease your social media use by 30 minutes a day, it actually decreases your loneliness and decreases your depression symptoms. So that might be something to shoot for. The average person uses social media 2 to 4 hours a day, and 73% of those people experience addictive-like qualities to it. So just be aware of that. 30 minutes decreased activity can actually have a significant impact for you. And another really interesting finding that I found was that just knowing that social media is having a negative impact on you, or could have a negative impact on you, actually decreases the anxiety that you feel. So you're welcome. Hopefully I've decreased your anxiety already. And then another thing about social media is it's called FOMO, fear of missing out. So right now, your feeds are always going, right? You got friends giving you updates. There's news everywhere, right? And by and large, the world is a better place than it used to be. Now, it doesn't seem like that because every single bad thing that happens is amplified in the media, in social media. And so we have this thing where we always got to be figuring out what's going on, right? But I think it's healthy to just check out a little bit and not worry about those things, because it'll decrease your anxiety. It's highly likely that it will, at least. So here are some things that we can actually do. So most of your phones, you can set limit apps if you go to screen time on your iPhone. If you Google, apps to limit your time, or, there's apps you can download. Some phones have it built in, and you can set a time limit. So you can say, okay, I can only use Instagram for 30 minutes today. And then there you go. It'll lock you out once you get to that limit. And you need to know yourself, because some people can't limit themselves. Like me, I had extreme anxiety on social media, so I just decided I can't use it because it wasn't healthy for me. You can charge your phone out of reach, so when you go to bed, right, this will decrease those sleep disturbances, so that'll help you quite a lot. Maybe during homework, you can turn your phone off, right, for some periods of time. That'll help you out. And then get rid of those notifications, right? You don't need your phone buzzing every time you get a new Snapchat or a like on Instagram. It's just not going to be good for you. And then one more thing just to think about is that whenever there's a free product out there, like, these corporations are huge and they're making billions of dollars, right? And the service isn't free, right? There's a cost, and you are the product. These companies know you extremely well, and it's like, I guess the question is, do you trust these companies to know everything about you, right? Because they're slightly manipulating what you get to see, right, with algorithms. And so, I just don't think that you want to be a person that's being manipulated by algorithms. I don't think that's a healthy way to be existing in the world. So, just be aware of these things, that, like, it seems free and there's some really good qualities to it, but if you're on it all the time, there are some ramifications that can come from it. Okay, I think that's good. Check out Blackboard. You're going to post on Discord and Blackboard for this. So discuss with your group members, what you think about social media. Fill out the Blackboard assignment, and I'll see you in the next video.